Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hi, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
So exciting today is. It's a very exciting day.
It really is.
Today is our 200th episode,
Yay.
Which is, yay, but it's like unbelievable. I can't believe it.
I know, because I think when we started this, we never thought this far ahead, which is fine. Nope. But I also think it's because of all of our lovely peeps that we get to do this still every single day to 200 episodes. So thank you.
Yes, very, very true. Thank you so much. We're so grateful. I didn't even believe we would have 200 topics.
I know.
200 episodes.
Yeah.
So we decided to celebrate our 200th episode in a kind of interesting way. We determined a topic. And then we didn't share with each other the basics of what we were thinking about it or what we were going to say, because we're going to just react to each other without any kind of idea about what's going to happen. We don't heavily outline anything. It's done very off the cuff, this podcast. But we have a general idea of where episodes, what the topics are about and where they're going. This time, because we don't know what the other person's going to say, we're not necessarily certain where it's going to go. We decided the overall topic would be the best advice and the worst advice that each of us has gotten for our work with young children. We decided, but we decided we're not going to tell each other our best and worst.
Yeah.
We're just going to say it. So which did you want to start with? The best or the worst?
If we started with the worst, then maybe we would end on like a good note, providing the best, I thought. That would maybe be the better way. I don't know.
Okay. So we're going to start with the worst. Who's going? We really didn't think about this. Who's going first?
All right. I will go first for the worst.
Okay. All right. Gosh. I hope it's not the same as mine. Go ahead.
And the worst advice I ever got was don't smile until December. Okay. Have you ever heard of this, Cindy?
No.
Right. So teachers have said when you're in your class that you should not smile or joke around or anything with the children because you want to show them that you are like this stern, like disciplinarian, and then in December, you could be like, you've established these strict guidelines or whatever, and they know that you're the boss, and then you can let go. And I'm like, but that's not me, and I feel like then what does this show the children? Like that it's this awful, horrible place. I don't even want to be here. Why should we? It's not fun to be at school. You shouldn't smile at school. What is the point of that? Don't smile until December.
That's some bad advice, Alison.
Right? That's why it made my top.
because we know that in order for children to learn, they have to be with people and in a place that they like. Yes. It has to be a positive atmosphere.
I have to show that I enjoy being there in order for them to be like, oh, wait, she enjoys it, so therefore I will enjoy it. And if my teacher's having fun, then I can have fun. And instead it was like, what do you mean don't smile until December?
Did you get this advice in 1950? When did you get this advice?
In 1950. This is when I started the public school.
No.
2016. So
wow.
Yes, because up until then, I worked in childcare centers and preschools where you would have fun and smile and laugh every day. And then all of a sudden you get into the public school, and I was still teaching little kids when I started the public school. They were 2 and 3 years old when I started the public school. And you're telling me I'm not supposed to smile at them? What?
Wow. Was that advice? Look, I'm going to interview you about it now. Was that advice from a same level colleague or from up above?
From, a same level in terms of yes, she was a teacher, but she taught older grades.
Did she teach college? Because I'm not sure what grade that would apply to.
We're talking 4th, 5th grade. Yes. And I don't think it applies for 4th, 5th grade either. I don't think it applies for college. I don't think it applies at all. Okay?
I don't think it applies at all. You know, I teach online college classes, and I do everything that I can, including using emojis and images and all sorts of things to smile at them. I use all kinds of things. I try to smile through my writing sometimes.
We are teaching these young children about emotions, right? And then one of the things that you want me to not do is show emotion until December.
Great. That's terrible advice. You might have won this round, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. But we'll see. Let's see who wins the worst advice. Here's what I've got.
Yeah.
My worst advice comes down to basically one word, but is applied to different situations. And I think no matter the situation, it's the worst advice.
Okay.
And that word is ignore.
Oh,
so it applies to ignore the crying, right? Ignore the crying, ignore the crying child, ignore the challenging child. Or the challenging child's behavior, not the challenging child.
Right.
It's their behavior that's challenging. Ignore the behavior. Ignore the plea for your attention. Ignore the separation anxiety. Ignore. I got so much over the course of my career. So many times people told me to ignore.
Oh my God. But then how does that help the child at all?
I will admit to you that there were times when I advised teachers who worked for me to ignore something because it was the prevailing belief at the time.
Yes. When I was young and first starting out, I think that was the prevailing belief. Like, oh, they're crying in the corner. Just ignore them. They'll stop.
Okay.
Am I bad?
So I'm just going to say that ignore was prevailing for a while.
Yes.
Right. I think
it was.
We had a little interruption in our technology, but Alison, you were saying it was prevailing when you were.
When I was first starting, I think that's what was common to do. And people would say, oh, he's crying in the corner. Just ignore him. He'll stop. And you go about your day and take care of the other children who are not crying. But that doesn't help at all. You know, like, and maybe eventually he'll stop crying, but you're not helping him get through whatever it is that he needs to get through. And to me, it shows like you're a cold person if you're not going to, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not what I want the kids to think about.
Okay, but like I said, there was a time when it was the thing.
I
feel really bad about it. We didn't know better. We didn't know better. So we would say, ignore. And it was a lot of the times I think it was ignore the crying. Yes. Ignore the upset child.
Yes.
And it had to mostly do with upset children. Ignore the crying, ignore the separation anxiety, ignore the child who keeps whining about something, right? Yeah. It was a lot of just ignore that, which I think really, I remember the child's behavior changing sometimes when we ignored it. I just wonder what was missed then. Like what message did the child get about their feelings when we ignored it? Their behavior may have changed, which may have made all of us as adults happy because the behavior now didn't challenge my day or put me in a situation where I feel like I don't know what to do. Right.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, the ignoring worked. The child's behaving differently. But what did the child learn about their upset or their frustration or their fear? They learned it's not acceptable.
Yes. Which, okay, if you think back to when we were kids and we were ignored when we were crying in the corner, which led to all of us now as adults having this mental health stigma, okay? And I think that might be why, is because back then it was like, oh, we don't even deal with mental health issues. We don't deal with it. We just ignore it. And then people now as adults that are like our age ignore those things or not be willing to talk about them because it was so, I guess, stigmatized even back then, even though I don't think people realized that's what they were doing. They were just trying to get through their day, I think, and whatever. But I mean, if you talk to like my mother, okay, will still say, if like you pick up that crying child, you're spoiling this baby. And we've learned since then that is not, more bad advice. Okay. So like we've learned that that's not true. Like ignoring a crying baby is not getting it to like, oh, now it won't cry as much or whatever it is. Like because my mom she will still say this, people, okay, that like by picking it up every single time it cries, you are spoiling it, and then it'll just cry for you to pick it up all the time, kind of thing. And we've learned that that's not true. Okay.
I don't think that you can spoil a child. They are not chopped meat that you have
Yes.
left out of your refrigerator too long. But I do think that we can negatively impact children's psyche, and that whole ignore, and then ignore the child with the behavior that is so challenging.
That one, I don't.
That just makes the child seek your attention even more. Yeah. It's counterproductive, because if the child is exhibiting that behavior for attention, which often is the case, children in need of attention will seek attention however they need it. We actually need to pay more attention to them, not less. Yeah. Not attention to the behavior, but more attention to the child. Yeah. And I think, I think just the whole ignore advice.
Yeah.
Was bad.
That's bad.
It was just bad.
That's bad, Cindy.
It was bad.
Yeah.
But we didn't thank you. But I think you won the worst advice still.
Advice. That one's pretty bad. Yeah.
That was not good.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to go to our bests, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if these match up.
Are you starting the best?
You go first again. No, you go first again.
All right, my best advice was somebody told me, always be yourself. Always.
Oh, that's good advice.
All right. And it was like, always be true to yourself, your philosophy of education, your beliefs, or like for me, like I'm a person that likes to joke around and laugh a lot. So they're like, you should have laughter in your classroom. Like if you are a teacher who isn't really into certain things, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like some teachers are one of those teachers that'll go in and like do the whole Pinterest worthy classroom kind of thing. Hey, if that's you, do you. But if it's not you, don't feel like you have to do that either. So that was like advice that was kind of like, oh, I can joke around in here and be myself and laugh and talk. I do tell stories of like, I bring my life kind of in a little bit, like I tell stories about my dog because that's who I am, like I'm sharing my life just like I want them to share their life. And so I was always like that. And I feel like that advice was like, brilliant. It helped me being myself, helped me be able to form relationships with the kids, and that up until then, I always felt like, oh, they can't see me as a person kind of thing. Like I go in, I teach, I leave. And once I started making it more like myself, and it was like how I am, then I enjoyed teaching more, and they enjoyed being with me more. And the parents realized, oh, she's a real person, and they enjoyed that, so that was the best advice I ever got. And I still do it.
That was good advice.
Yeah.
That was very good advice. Yeah. And I think it applies to all of life.
All of life.
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself. Like, and I kind of am like that now, but I remember like, even in life for a while, I was pretending to be somebody I wasn't, just to fit in certain ways. And I think I was like that when I started, like almost every school I started with. I was like, okay, what are these people like here? And how do I need to change myself to fit in there? And sometimes I would change myself and not be happy. And then other times I'm like, I'm going to be myself, and if they don't like it, oh, well, but like, but
I think some of that comes with age. Yes. I'm far more likely to be myself now. Ironically, I saw a meme on, I think it was Facebook this morning, and it said something like, aging is an amazing process that takes you back to who you were always supposed to be.
Oh, that's amazing. Because I do think that's true. I think like right now, I, at least in my life, am fully myself pretty much all the time now. I don't really pretend to be somebody I'm not or fit in. If I don't fit in, I don't fit in.
Right.
Like I just, this is me, and accept or don't accept. You don't have to hang out with me if you don't want to.
I agree.
But I'm not going to change myself for you to fit in,
I'm going to be my assertive, quirky self, no matter where I am.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, here's my best. Best advice I ever got was to get to know the children on my own and not listen to what other people say about them, because children react differently to different people, and you don't want to have a prejudice for or against certain children before they enter your classroom.
And this happens a lot, I feel. Like when you are at least in public school, arranging which children go to which teachers next, right? And this happens all the time. You'll get teachers who will email you and be like, oh, please don't give me this child because I heard things about them, or please don't give me this family because I don't get along with them. And I'm like, you know what? That's not right, okay? Because this child might actually really benefit from having your style of teaching. And you don't know this child at all. You're basing that on, like, I don't know,
Right.
siblings or what other people have said or whatever. This is a different individual, and it's not fair that you're even saying that. You know?
Different people, you gel with different people. So I think the best advice I ever got was to not seek that information.
Yeah.
Just get to know the children on your own. And then once you get to know them, like let's say I get to know a child and something about that child, like I need strategies, I need advice. That's when to go back to the prior teachers and say, did you do anything that worked for this?
Yes.
Whether it's something more academic or behavioral or whatever it is. So, but get to know them first and then seek the advice was the advice that I got.
And I find, like, at least for me, like, if you do that, the child knows, like, oh, look, she's accepting me for who I am. You know, especially if you have older children.
Right.
Like when I taught kindergarten, I got a lot of those kind of children. They're like, oh, you have that family. Oh my goodness, how are you dealing with them? Like, fine, because I kind of learned who these children were as individuals. And I think the child kind of appreciates that. So then I would have like this good relationship with them. So then when I would go and need the advice from a previous teacher and they would be like, oh, how's that going? It's going fine because I know him as a person, you know, it's going fine. I just need a little advice, you know, and I think it's like the families appreciate that too, you know.
Well, as the parent of a child who could sometimes be a little challenging when he was very young, I can tell you that I would have appreciated not having gossip and rumors spread about my child before my child got a chance to meet you. So I do totally appreciate that. You know, this 200th episode has been so interesting. We had a little technical challenge in the middle of it. Now I have, when we're recording this, it's really nice weather out and I have my windows open and my eye is just like leaking from allergies. This 200th episode is like, there was it is.
Everything. I had to close the window that's closest to me because of that issue before we started.
Oh my gosh.
And now I'm getting hot.
Beautiful out, but my eye is leaking. Yeah. It's an interesting 200th episode for sure. What was the TV show? Maybe some of our preschool peeps will remember and can let us know. What was the TV show where everything kept going wrong? Like there was, oh my gosh, there was a main character. Eye swelled, something else happened, something else. Oh gosh, I'm not going to think of it now. That's what this episode is reminding me of. Anything. It's such a happy occasion, the 200th episode, but anything that can go wrong is going wrong.
Also, doesn't it remind you of the days where we used to have these issues even more? Because like, let's bring you back to back in the day.
Back in the day, not 200 episodes ago, when we first started this podcast 4 years and 200 episodes ago.
7 years ago. Yes, go on.
Amazing. And since that time, as you all know, because you are our preschool peeps, we have gotten listeners from all over the country. We live in the United States and all over the world. And we've started to shout out. And so, again, in honor of this 200th episode, we have a little bit of an unusual international shout out, right? So in the past, I forget which episode, the last episode or the one before that, we welcomed the people who live in Thailand as listeners because they reached our top 5, right? Okay. This week, they are number 2 ahead of Canada, which is shocking.
Amazing. It is shocking. In a good way.
Thailand.
Go Thailand.
Thailand, you are running away with it. And Canada, what's going on? You are our neighbors to the north. You are wonderful, friendly people. I've been there and enjoy my time in Canada whenever I go. And yet you have fallen to number 3. It's now United States, which pretty solidly is always in number 1, right? And then it's usually United States, Canada, and then it varies, gets a little more random, right? It varies. That's a better word. So it varies. And that's how Thailand ended up in the top 5. But They have surpassed Canada. So I would like to give that a 200th episode shout out, because that wasn't easy to do.
Not easy to do.
No. Okay, so in the United States, into the top 5 states in our statistics for the past week, Minnesota.
Yay, Minnesota.
Yay. So we do have a new one there.
Yes.
But I have to tell you, let me see if I can bring up this list. We laugh. I have to tell you, folks, we laugh every time we look at these stats, which now is pretty much every week almost, right? Every time we look at the geolocation in our stats and we're looking at the United States, we look for where is our state. So here's the top 5 right now are Pennsylvania, California, Kentucky, Texas, Minnesota.
And where are you, my Jersey?
We are in New Jersey.
We live here. You know what? I always said that people are probably tired of hearing us talk here because
they can't hear me throughout the state every time I talk.
Yeah, they're like, we heard her talk yesterday. We don't need to listen to her on a podcast. But come on, Jersey.
Come on, Jersey. What on earth? So, although Jersey climbed over last week, Jersey is like number 10 now. We weren't even in the top 10 last week.
But I will say, Jersey people like a good competition. So maybe they'll be like,
Yeah. Come on, people. Listen, tell your friends. I'll tell you, we're recording this at a time when people still visit the Jersey Shore, and Manahawkin is number 1 in New Jersey. That's a shore town. Yeah. Everybody may be down there.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, by the way, we had mentioned last time we might have to, if people don't keep swapping, although Minnesota is new in that list, if people don't keep climbing in that rating, we may have to mention cities.
I'm kind of excited for the whole city thing.
Are you? All right.
But,
All right. Okay, so New Jersey, get your act together. Go tell your colleagues and friends that 2 New Jersey girls have this podcast and the Patreon. And where are you? You're like nowhere. Come on, New Jersey. Come on, my people.
I mentioned my hometown in one of the episodes recently.
Nobody cares.
No one's listening.
Nobody cares. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness for Minnesota and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and all these other places.
Well, at least there will be no one here if we ever visit. They'll be like, oh, look, there's the woman with the
That's
podcast.
true.
Yes,
that's very true. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. 200th episode done. Unreal. Folks, we thank you so very much, and we hope that you will also join us for the bonus content and connections and other things happening on Patreon. You can find out more about Patreon and how to join it on our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. And we will see you for the 201st episode next week. Bye, peeps.